Welcome to Jared Scott Outdoors, your source in the field for local outdoor news. As I mentioned before the break, this week on Jared Scott Outdoors, we're out to do some trapping. Now I've got my friend Ed with me, and you know, this is something I've been doing just the last few years, kind of getting into the trapping. We kind of add a little bit more each year on what we do and change it up. And last year you saw that we started some pine marten trapping, started to get the hang of it, and so this year we're going to do it maybe a little bit more seriously this time. We've got a few more traps. I've got Ed coming out helping me. You know, sometimes during the winter time you think there's not a lot that you can do, but in reality, if you think about it, there's a lot of things you can do. And this is one of those things that you can do just to get out of the house and enjoy the outdoors. You know, right now it's a beautiful day. Even though it's the middle of January, it's just beautiful out here. And anyways, it's kind of a fun way to get out here and enjoy the outdoors. So let's get after it and see if we can't catch some pine marten. My friend Ed Mortensen and I headed out into Idaho's backcountry to set our pine marten trap line. We were trying out an area that neither one of us had been in before. In general, the pine marten like to live in the heavily timbered areas, especially where there's mature pine trees. Well, let me show you how we're setting these traps this year. We've got these boxes that were made, and they just fit a 110 conibear trap. Anyway, so we're going to do this one straight up and down on this tree. Now the opening is up underneath, so we're hoping the pine marten will come up this tree and then get into it. So I've got some wires already on this trap here. Now I actually threw some bait in here already. We've got some meat. These pine marten they're meat eaters. They walk through this, hit that mechanism, and it'll catch them, and usually it'll catch them on the neck, which will kill them right then, which is what we like. So now I've got to secure this trap. It's going to be straight inside like this, inside here. And what you don't see, or what will take a little time, is get some branches, feed them through here. I've got some holes drilled through this that hold that trap in place. And that's without being in the way. So there I can let go and it actually stays put. And then I'll wire this trap up so it can't take off with it. And then the last thing is some scent. I've pre-scented this stick with some very smelly skunk smelling kind of stuff. It's a scent that I got a hold of. And I'm just going to set that up in the tree here. So that is actually what's going to draw them in, is the scent coming off that. They'll smell that skunk. You know, skunk smell for a long ways off. They'll come in just to investigate what the smell is. They'll come here, they'll see the meat, come on in, and hopefully get caught. That's kind of the game plan on this. So we'll set this one and come back in a few days and see how we do. As we came back out of the deeper country where we had set the pine marten traps, we placed a fox set. I was using a bucket and a 220 trap. First I dug a hole in the snow for the bucket to sit in, and then made room for the trap springs. Then I buried the bucket as much as possible to hide at least a little bit of it. I had never caught a fox yet, but had seen it done this way, so it was worth a shot. Turkey from turkey dinner. Now the 220 trap that fits right in there. Nice and snug. Then we'll bury this up a little bit, hide some of this so it's not so obvious. And then hopefully if a fox come along, it'll see this and not be too obvious what it is, but be curious on that food that's in there and go in after that. And then it's done. Done deal. Heading out on the first day to check traps, the first one we would come to would be the fox set. It'd be cool to catch one, but I really didn't think it would be successful because it didn't work last year when I tried it. Got one! First check of the day. First check of the season. We've got a fox. This really surprises me, actually. First catch of the day. Nice pretty fox. So that's kind of cool. And this is actually the first fox I've ever caught. You know, I'm just kind of getting into this trapping thing, and third year for me, so I'm kind of excited about that. Now this one we caught in this box trap. I don't know what you call it, but just got a bucket here and then a 220 trap that set right in there with the bait in the back. We kind of tucked it up into the snow, and anyways, worked perfectly.
Now let's go see how the pine marten sets did. I can only hope that our luck would continue. Wouldn't you know it, at the first check there was a pine marten.
First pine marten check. That's 2 for 2 right now. If the day goes like this, we're gonna have a great day. Here you can see the first pine marten, and they are kind of cute critters, but don't let it fool you. They're meat eaters, these buggers. They'll actually eat other pine martens, you know, that are caught in traps and things. There's other tracks that have been here, so we don't know if there was another pine marten that came and finished off the bait. But either way, we're gonna set it. It's not a huge one, so there might be a bigger one. But like we said, they're meat eaters, so we've got a chunk of meat here. You can't use game, big game or anything like that. We're gonna thread this up there.
Then it was off to the next trap.
You gotta like that. All right, well, as you can see, we've got a run here. That was a pretty dark one there. But this one here makes it 3 for 3. So I know this is not going to continue very long. I'm going to take it while I get it. We did have a lot of tracks when we were setting these traps, so we were hoping for some better luck here. The further up we go, I'm not expecting as much, but I'm taking it while I can get it for sure. This is great, a great way to start out the day for sure.
Well, that was a much better start to the day than expected, but I still hoped our luck would continue as I checked the next one. Sure enough, this was the first trap on the line that hadn't been touched.
We'll leave it here, we'll get some more.
Another couple traps with nothing, and then we had one that had been set off but nothing in it. It was rebaited and reset, and then we continued on up the line.
This is trap number 11, which is actually I think about the 13th that we've checked because they've kind of been out of order. So, you know, we got 3 out of the first 3 traps, and then just we've been blanked. But here, clear at the near the end of our line, finally got one. He's a nice big male. We're on our last one. We had 22 traps out, and this is the last one. We didn't get any more after those 3, so we had a good start to the day, and then the rest kind of petered out. We did have 3 misses, however, and so hopefully those will come back by and check out those baits again. So we've got everything redone, kind of resanded everything up, and now we'll wait a few more days and come back out.
Waiting a couple days, Ed and I headed back out. But this time, my 2 oldest kids, Nathan and Aubrey, came along for the adventure, as today's check landed on a day they didn't have school. On just the second pine marten trap, we scored another.
We got one last time on this same trap, and got another one. It's a nice one, nice size, and it's probably a male. It's a nice color too, nice and light.
Right, here we go. This is marten number 3 for today. We did catch another one. Didn't show you that one. We've checked. Oh, we're probably on about 15 traps right now. So 3 is actually a great number. If we get 3 all day, I'm actually kind of happy about that. This one's actually a very fresh one. This was the reason I turned the camera on this one, however, is we tried something new. And Ed that's helping me out here, this is kind of his idea. But instead of doing the box, we actually tunneled in under, we've got this fallen log, kind of created a hole underneath there, stuck the bait back there, and put the trap in front. So we didn't have to use a box or anything, just kind of the surroundings, the snow, and use the trap here and put it right in the face. So, you know, that's another method. I think we're going to throw a few more traps out like this and try that, because we don't have to worry about those big bulky boxes as far as packing them in and stuff.
We didn't pick up any other martens, but my kids did have a great time exploring the backcountry on Snow Machine. As we headed out that evening, both of them were having a lot of fun on the sleds. They were tired from getting stuck a few times, but that was all part of the adventure. Now it was check number 3. Looks like our fortune was continuing, as on our first marten set in the line, we caught one.
Great way to start out the day. Check number 3, or check day number 3. One thing though, if you do come out trapping anywhere, it doesn't matter what you're trapping, you have to make sure to have a trapper ID attached to your trap, whether it's an address, phone, you know, person and address, or your trapper ID, but you got to make sure to have that on there. And And that is an extra fee to get that ID. You got to go into the Fish and Game office and you got to get your trapper ID. That number will stick with you after that. Every year it'll be the same number, and so you don't have to change them up each year. But if you are going to get into trapping at all, make sure to get yourself an ID. When you're out here trapping for pine marten, of course you want to see some tracks, and here is a perfect example of what to be looking for. And kind of the odd thing here is you'll notice they're in sets of 2. Just the way it moves around on the snow. You know, usually if you see a fox or something like that, they're going to be spaced, you know, pretty evenly apart. But for these pine marten, it's like that, pairs of 2. So if you see that, then you know you're in business. So that last trap we set should hopefully prove to catch us a pine marten. All right, well, as you can see here, we've got one more. This is actually, I don't know, our 20th check or something. We're nearing the end here, and it was looking like we weren't going to do very well today, but now we're at number 2. So I'm hoping for at least 3. That's kind of the run we've been doing. So, but anyways, nice, pretty one. He's hasn't froze or anything yet, so probably not too long ago, but number 2. When you come out here and actually do this, it's a pretty big commitment when you come out here and set a bunch of traps, because you've got to make sure you're coming up every 72 hours until you pull those traps. And even when I came out here, I was toying between, okay, do I really have the time to do this? And we decided, let's go for it. But it means you've got to make sure to come up every 72 hours. So it's not something you can just kind of take half-heartedly if you want to try to do it. If you're going to do it, you got to make sure to do it and do it right and have enough traps to make it worthwhile. It's kind of in the middle for me. A little bit of playing, hoping to make it worthwhile, but more playing, more just a way to get out. So anyhow, if you want to get into trapping, make sure you kind of know the regulations and what you're doing.
Here's another obvious set of pine marten tracks. Of course, this would be another good place to have a trap nearby. Now we're to check number 4. Things were definitely slowing down. It took till about the 12th check before I caught one. This time, however, it was another marten in a snow set that we tried. A few more traps down the line, and I was happy to see another one. That would be another one of many that had nothing. The next trap that had been triggered by a marten the last 2 checks in a row had no action this time either. Same with the next snow set, nothing. With it being obvious that this line was slowing down, I moved 6 traps into a new area to try to pick up a little more activity. When I came back a couple days later, I had checked a lot of sets before finally getting my first one for the day. A little further down the line, I saw something interesting and had to investigate. There were fresh wolf tracks following my old snowmobile track. There had been a light snowfall just the day before, so I knew they were fresh. This wolf seemed to stick around the area, as I would see the lone wolf tracks a handful of other times as well. Having only caught one so far, I headed off to check the 6 traps I moved into a new area, and sure enough, the first check produced a marten. The next set also had one, and then I caught a third in the 5th one. Not bad. That was 3 martens in the 6 traps I had moved to the new area, so obviously that was a good choice. With that, I moved another 6 traps a bit further into this area, keeping the traps about a half-mile apart. Ed and I made it out to pull all the traps on the last check of the winter because the season was ending, and we came up empty on all our traps set on the original line.
You know, if you're going to do some pine marten trapping, the tip is make sure to move them every 3rd or 4th check into a new location. Playing the percentages, it seems that when we first set the traps, we're getting about 1 in 5 traps. We've got some success, and then by the 2nd and 3rd one, you're down to maybe 10%, and then after that, you know, we're down at 0 right now % on these. But anyways, it's kind of a numbers game. You just gotta look and see what it's worth to you and your time and things like that. Right now, I'm probably barely making minimum wage.
When we finally got to the traps I'd moved into a new area and had caught 3 on a few days before, we had some luck.
Another thing you got to watch out for when you come out is the changing snow conditions and how that changes the trails and whatnot. Right now it's coming off the trees quite a bit because it's such a warm day. But as you can see, got another marten. That's the first one for today, so not too bad. You know, we're back on these ones that I set out just recently. In fact, I just set it last time, so it's these newer ones. Now, hopefully we'll get something. We got that weasel and now this one, but you know, it just goes to show you got to move your traps. So, anyways, we're finally, hopefully, going to pick up a few more now.
We caught one more and then checked the last trap of the line.
A nice big one. That's good. The others have been a little smaller, but this one's a really nice big one. So that's a great way to end it here. And you know, we've been pulling all our traps today. The season ends here in a couple days, and just timing wise, I figured better pull them. So this is probably the last one, but that makes 3 for the day. So I'm actually really happy about that. I can go home feeling like it was a good, successful day and a good, successful season.
That's it for our trapping this winter. While it was a big time commitment, I sure had a good time doing it. It was a good excuse to get out and a fun way to enjoy the backcountry in the winter. Tune in next week at the same time for another episode of Jared Scott Outdoors.